everyone. It's just after 12 o'clock midday here in Hobart, and I thought I'd give you one last tracker update before we hit the plane tomorrow. We'll be off the air then for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll be back in La Sable d'Olonne in France. So been a lot happening if you've been following all the posts, so it's a good chance to look back now and just overview everyone and see what the weather's going to hold for the next few days. So we'll start off at the tail end of the fleet. This is real-time weather today, and I'll just zoom that in a bit and we'll look at Igor and Mark Sinclair. Igor's got a nice breeze and he's making 3.5 knots, so that's not too bad. That would be expected. He's probably got 15 knots or so from behind, and the seas are calm, the wind's in the right direction, so he's happy. I'll just get some little tails on there. We've got some tails, so Mark Sinclair's the same. Fortunately, he's dipping down. We'll put some grids on here as well, I think, so we can see relative positions. Here's the 40th parallel here. I'll zoom it up again a little bit, and they still want to try and get down. I'm hoping like crazy they get down here to the 40th parallel, and then they're right. Having said that, if you look at Sue Haley here, she's on her way up towards Fremantle. At the time, Robin was trying to find a ship to get a message out that he was, what was happening, that he was still on the face of the earth, and he wasn't lost, but no one really knew where he was. And it was around here that he'd finally loses his wind vane steering gear and carries on the rest of the way around the world without any wind vane at all. So anyway, yeah, two tailenders, they're doing fine. Now if we come through to Hobart and Tasmania, you'll see Tapio's on his way, and he's dipping south in a hurry, which is probably a good thing. He knows there's a breeze down there, and he's got a nice following breeze, but he's just coming into it, so he's only making 3.9 knots at the moment. You'll see if I blow that up, there's a big area in the lee of Tasmania that's very light winds, so it's been a slow start. But he got far enough out into Storm Bay, and then he would have got his head down, because I know even though he had the good sleep as soon as he arrived, the scenario was that he was quite busy when he was there. So as he was leaving, he said he was looking forward to getting out and getting a sleep and getting back into that seagoing routine. Loved his stop, like everyone does, so that's kind of cool. Istvan's actually, I haven't paced this off yet, but he's got quite a break again on Tapio. Let's do a distance here. We'll put the distance marker there. There's meant to be one there, and another one down here. So he's 400 miles ahead. So Istvan, is quite a jump, and he's got a cleaner bottom. I mean, Istvan's got some barnacles as well, but Tapio's got a heck of a lot more. So it's going to be really hard for Tapio to catch up with Istvan. But anyway, they're enjoying the situation right now. We'll go back here, get the weather. I'll just zoom it back a little bit. And then we come over to Susie. Susie's about to head underneath the bottom tip of New Zealand, but this is interesting because the wind's showing she hasn't got much wind, but she's making 6.4 knots. So in this instance, I'd say there's a bigger airflow going out there to the or big southwesterly airflow that's not quite showing there, because that's quite fast indeed. Uku sitting over in a hole doing 4 knots, not much wind showing there. But before we get rid of this, I'll just try and, the hard part now is spread out, it's halfway around the world, but I'll try and look at the next few days. So yeah, you can see Uku's fallen in a hole. That's why I've zoomed back. I'll just see if I can come up one more and still get the lot. No, we can't, and we want to see what weather's coming as well, just so you can see how it develops. So we'll go through a day, we'll go through another day here, so that's 1 day ahead, all pretty mild again. Uku's going to have a slow second day, still no wind. Susie's got a nice breeze. Istvan, Tapio, happy as, just gentle sailing breezes. Let them enjoy the ride, and they deserve some of that. Again, then what happens, bingo, Tapio's going to be in a hole, he'll stop. Istvan's going to keep going with this southwesterly. Susie's happy. Uku, well, see, he's moved on, so he may still be stuck in light winds. So anyway, it's 3 days of no storms. That's always a positive way to consider it. Tapio will get moving again. Then yeah, Susie's now under the bottom of New Zealand. If she goes through the strait, she might calm down here. She might slow down. So it's still a bit fickle, but it's all good weather, not stormy weather. Just going to be challenging to get their passage across to Cape Horn. So again, that's 4 days out, the 13th, 14th and 15th. No storms, that's the good thing, but wow, look at that, big trough of no wind. So there's going to be some frustrations there. Not going to be happy campers, but they're not going to be upset because it's just not good sailing breezes for consistently high runs. So we'll come over to Mark Slats now. Now, there was a game changer yesterday. Mark Slats now clearly in a situation where he's on the hunt for Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc's back in the race. He's got some damage. He'll have to really consider his mast every time he's doing sail changes. Every time he's deciding what to put up, he's thinking about his mast. It's going to restrict his speed. There's no question. He's going to slow down. Mark Slats, on the other hand, is going for it. So right now, Mark's doing 6.6, really solid westerlies there. He's probably got 30, 35 knots, typical Southern Ocean day, probably 4 metre seas or whatever. And he's now, let's just peg the distance here. I think he's something like, and remembering that this distance measure, when you click on these, is more accurate than the one on the rankings where you see that. They using tricky formulas and so on, but I always tend to favour using this distance measuring tool so you can actually calculate it. 1770 nautical miles to go. Now, I already did a rough calculation yesterday. If Mark should easily be maintaining 1 knot. He should be able to sail 1 knot faster all the time now than Jean-Luc. If that's the case, it's black and white. He will pass Jean-Luc before the finish of the race. So it's going to be very interesting. The challenge will be that they're in Jean-Luc's 3 weather systems ahead at the moment, not just 2. So Mark's going to have to jump across those, and I think he'll have a good chance of that in the Atlantic. So that's going to make a hell of a race now. We're talking about line honours, we're talking about first to finish, all these sorts of things. Anything could happen to Mark, of course, and the same for Jean-Luc. So the suspense is killing me already. Anyway, let's just go back to real-time weather and see what they're going to get over the next few days. We've got 1 day ahead, and Mark's stronger wind's going to die out, but still good winds. We all know he can put his big twins up front and hammer along in these lighter breezes, so he'll be maintaining 5, 6 and 7 knots in this. Jean-Luc's got a nice breeze down, but can he utilise that wind strength? Well, only time will tell. So another day ahead. Jean-Luc's got lighter winds, which is nice. Mark Slats, he's going to be lucky or unlucky. He'll either come down into this trough here of no wind, or he might stay high. He gets good weather reports. He's got good links with his ham operators, so someone will probably tip him off that he's got to stay north on that one. So anyway, no storms. That's the good bit. Another day ahead. All pretty reasonable, lots of greens. Jean-Luc's going to hook up in this little system. I hope it doesn't evolve into anything. Oh, he'll be down here. He's making southeast at the moment. He's got to get down. So in a couple of days, that's the 12th, so that's 3 days from now, he's going to be down here somewhere. So watch this space. It's light winds, so not storms. That's what we want to try and avoid. Same again, Mark. Yeah, looking pretty good. The bottom line is there's no surprises. Jean-Luc will be down by then. He'll be back down into the wind flow, the westerlies, and now Mark needs to get south again. So that's going to be interesting. And I'll put the no-go zone in here just so you can see it. Oh, there's a stammer. Look at that. I didn't even know that. So Mark is now running along the edge of the no-go zone. He can't go any further south. He's going to have to go north. He's just got to work it down. He'll know where it is. So I'm just going to review this again and see how it stacks up. Day 1, that's pretty good. Day 2, he needs to go north a bit. I don't know whether you can see that. If you're on a mobile, it'll be a bit hard, so I'll just zoom in here. You can see he's running right along the edge. So anyway, still plenty of challenges there, but no major storms, so that's always encouraging. That's really about all there is to this one at the moment. It's just that it's now quite interesting. There's a real race going to happen up front. Mark Slats is on the hunt for Jean-Luc. Then coming back here, quite interesting. Remember, Yuku's got all of those barnacles on the bottom of his boat. He's slow. Susie has got a very realistic chance of hunting down Uku over the next month or so. So watch this space. Istvan is passionate. He was tail end of the fleet there for a while, months ago, and now look where he is. He's chasing a podium position with Susie, and anything can happen. And Tapio, he's enjoying the ride. He knows he's got a barnacle problem, and he loves his boat. He loves everything about being out in the ocean. So I don't think he cares really. I think he's just enjoying the ride now. But he wants to sail the best he can, even with that disadvantage. He's looking for an opportunity now. As soon as it calms off and he gets an easy sea, to have a go at those barnacles. So let's see how it happens. And hopefully Mark Sinclair will be in before Christmas. He's thinking that it'll be somewhere around the 5th to the 10th of December. Jane and I won't be here. Jesse will be back, and we'll have another team sorting out their man. And we're just waiting for clarification on Igor. Igor made mention of the word Chichester in his last phone call, but we haven't got the translation from his team yet to see what that means. Whether he's thinking he might have to call into Perth or Hobart, I've got absolutely no idea yet. But I know he's a bit concerned about his rig. So let's see what happens. Watch this space. Thanks a lot, and we'll do another update when we're back in Les Sables d'Olonne. Thanks a lot.